Now, on 105.9 FM and streaming worldwide on the WMAL app, O'Connor and Company.
It's 6:07. Good morning. Thanks for tuning in here on a busy Monday as we sort of dig ourselves out and try to get going. It's 6:15. Ellen Kamilakis from the Northern Virginia Department of VDOT will join us, tell you how you shouldn't try to dig yourself out and get anywhere. Just stay home. Also at 7:05, Joe DeGeneva. At 7:15, Charlie Gischler for Maryland State Highway Administration. At 7:35, Kevin Roberts of Heritage talk about this war on ICE and what it really means about the left in America right now. 8:05, Erica Donalds could be the First Lady of Florida there. She is championing School Choice Week this week. It's all coming up. It's Larry O'Connor with Cassie Smedile. Good morning, Cassie.
Good morning, Larry. Hope you're staying warm.
Yes, and you as well. I mean, it's nice and toasty here. I did start a bonfire in the lunchroom, the coffee room here at the studio.
Just for some ambiance.
Sure, just to make it a little toastier, just in case. Is that frowned upon? Is that not a thing? I mean, if you can flip over a car and set that on fire as a protest in Minneapolis, why can't you just do a little? It's controlled. It's in a trash
You're
can.
Identifying as a peaceful protester this morning, I see.
That's right, and I have every right to do so. Listen, everybody's looking at this video. Here's what we know. This man got shot. He got shot at the hands of Border Patrol. He got shot because he was involved in a physical altercation with Border Patrol agents as they were trying to physically remove a woman from the area who was getting in the way of their operations. He may believe that he was being heroic by going in and trying to rescue this woman, but there's no doubt that he was, physically resisting what the Border Patrol was doing, and the Border Patrol was acting lawfully. It also turns out that this man, it appears, was a legal concealed carry permit holder in the state of Minnesota, and we certainly support that. And you can certainly carry a weapon and exercise your Second Amendment right and concealed carry in most aspects of your life, including peaceful protests. Where that crosses the line is when you are no longer involved in a peaceful protest and you're physically involved in an altercation with federal law enforcement. The weapon was spotted. It was seen. What happens next is really a frame-by-frame, one of those millisecond-by-millisecond breakdowns, which law enforcement don't have the luxury of doing in real time. But after the fact, it appears to me, and this is just my opinion from seeing it, is that the gun was spotted. One ICE agent disarmed the gentleman, Mr. Pretti, and in so doing, the firearm discharged. And that then led to a string of events because nobody knew exactly where that gunshot came from, didn't know that it was from the Border Patrol agent who had possession of the gun at that moment. It appears. And the Border Patrol agent acted on reflex, drew his weapon, and shot the person who was getting in their way, Mr. Pretti, and he is dead. That's my understanding of what happened there. I don't think anything unlawful happened in the hands of the Border Patrol agent. I think it is horrible. It's tragic. And there should be investigation. I was very disturbed by so many members of the administration who were rushing in front of cameras saying, well, you shouldn't bring a gun. It's against the law to bring a gun to a protest. No, it's not. It's not against the law to bring a gun to the protest. It's against the law to interfere with federal agents when they're conducting their duty and getting into a physical altercation with them. That's my take on the whole thing.
Yeah,
for what it's worth.
Right. I think that's a good measured recap of it, something that is sorely needed but you're touching on something, Larry, that don't call me a squish, but the optics of what's happening in Minnesota, and I get it. The protesters, it's a professional organization that is putting all of this together. They are getting exactly what they want by getting all of these heightened videos of all of this happening and by provoking ICE and DHS. You, of course, do not have any compliance or cooperation with Walls or Fry. Mm-hmm. So that's adding
quite
to
the opposite.
tension.
You've got the governor, in fact, encouraging and the mayor encouraging people to keep going out there. And they're blowing whistles at high-pitched levels every time ICE is on the street trying to conduct their affairs. And sorry, go ahead.
Yes. No, you're right. All of that said, when the administration comes out with this is what happened, this is it, this is done, and just average Americans are saying, okay, I saw a video that says, I think we need to know more here. I think there's more talking about this here. Just optically, from a PR perspective, of which so much of this is a PR campaign, it's not working right now. Mm-hmm. And they do need to make some adjustments. I'm not saying they need to adjust the mission. I'm not even saying they need to adjust their approach to the mission, because they are upholding the law. And I think ICE and DHS have every right to be doing what they're doing. And I'm glad they are doing it, because they are getting really bad people out of our country. But how they talk about it and how they report on this is something that I do think needs to be looked at, because in the broader conversation, we're losing the plot here.
The man had a handgun. He had 2 fully loaded magazines as well with him, by the way, which, again, not against the law. And because of that evidence, Kristi Noem, the Secretary of Homeland Security, decided to make a statement publicly that he was there to murder as many ICE and Border Patrol agents as he could. I can see how she could reach that conclusion, but there's not enough evidence to support that statement. And the problem is, as they make certain statements that then within a couple of hours are just hard to agree with, given the evidence that we see. And again, I'm on their side. I don't think they're the aggressors in this thing, and I don't think that there was anything wrong with what happened here. I mean, if there is anything wrong, the fault goes back to all of the people who are, first of all, in the country illegally, created these conditions in the first place, and continue to make it impossible for ICE to function lawfully in the city of Minneapolis. But when you then go out and extend yourself and say, well, he was there to murder as many ICE agents and Border Patrol agents as possible, you don't know that. All you know is stick with the facts. He had a gun and he had 2 loaded magazines. We're smart enough. We can reach conclusions on our own. I do want to say this was a good statement. This is a deputy U.S. attorney here from the Justice Department. I'll give you his name in a second. But he was on Meet the Press, and he was asked, was this guy disarmed? Did Border Patrol have the gun before the shooting happened? What do you know?
I do not know, and nobody else knows either. That's why we're doing an investigation. It does appear that he was armed. I have heard the same thing you have, that he was lawfully armed, and that's something that's important in this country, and there's nothing wrong with anybody lawfully carrying firearms. But whether he was disarmed or whether he pulled the gun on law enforcement, whether law enforcement saw him go for the gun, what they have to do is they have to protect themselves. They have to protect the public around them, and we'll see what happens. But just make no mistake about it. This was an incredibly split-second decision that had to be made by ICE officers confronting a very complicated, violent situation with not a single local law enforcement officer in sight.
That's right. That's Todd Blanche, by the way, Deputy U.S. Attorney. Thank you. That Deputy Attorney General, pardon me. That's what you want to hear. That's exactly.
Yes.
Here's what we know. And when you ask me a question I don't know, I'm going to say, I don't know. But here's what we do know, and here's what we know about the conditions that led to this. And I mentioned earlier that this sort of thing is not happening in other states, mostly because we've got cooperation from local law enforcement and county and state law enforcement with ICE. And so all of these transfers of illegal immigrants who are criminals and have a deportation order from an immigration judge, it's all happening in a very orderly way at the county jail and in the state house or in a courtroom, a courthouse or a police station. That's a big part of the problem. And thank you. We know there's been chaos on the streets of Minneapolis for several weeks now, and yet they still have not deployed the police to go out and actually do crowd control with ICE.
Right.
Just crowd control to keep these people out of the way. They won't do it. And so that was good. I liked that. That was very good from Todd Blanche.
I totally agree. And I think the average person listening to that is like, okay, that makes sense to me.
Right.
Let me know when you know more.
Right.
But also,
and don't leap to conclusions and say this is like Osama bin Laden in our streets. It's like, stop that. That's not helping. That's not helping at all. All right. We've got this and the snow and the roads is what everybody is talking about.
WMAL, making sense of the news. Live from the Home Paramount Pest Control Studios. Home Paramount, the leader in pest control since 1939.
Larry O'Connor with Cassie Smedile, and joining us now, she knows her stuff there, all the roads and highways and byways, and even some of the gravelly dirt roads out in Loudon. She is the spokesperson for VDOT. She runs their amazing social media accounts. And she's just, you know what I would call her? She's a great gal that I'd like to hang out with. Ellen Kamilakis. Did I get that right, Ellen? I always I like the Kamilakis, as you know, with a side of I want a shot of ouzo when I have my Kamilakis. Ellen, good morning, and this is what you live for. So game on. How's it looking?
It's great. I'm glad you recognized the gravel roads in Loudon. They sometimes get overlooked in our inventory.
We hear about it from our listeners out there. Trust me, we hear about it.
Well, thanks for having me on. They're going exactly as planned. We knew that this was going to be a multi-day event for us. Crews were really busy yesterday, just pushing as much of the heft of the fluffy snow off before the sleet started and any kind of freezing rain. And really, we're now on to the most complicated part for us, which is that deep freeze, like you were talking about. 2 degrees, -1, any of these absolutely ridiculous temperatures for the next week, which means everything is solid. Like, I'm looking at the road outside of my place right now, and, oh, hey, it looks like it rained. No, that's ice. So
that's
everything
ice,
that looks wet is icy. Yes, absolutely.
And just one pile up then creates this domino effect. One car that skids and doesn't realize that it's ice and then slams into another. That's the real worry, I would think, here. How's the volume looking right now? Are most people just saying, I don't want anything to do with this?
Yeah, I think a lot of them are, which is great, and a lot of them did yesterday, which was great. I mean, it helps when, the school systems and the local governments close and the federal government closes. Everybody's been acting pretty much in unison with this. You can see Metro reduces service, Fairfax Connector reduces service. So I think it's a pretty consistent message across everywhere, which is just keep staying home because this is not something that is typical for us, and this is not something that is a 2-second cleanup.
Well, I imagine, day one, the novelty of the snow, people are like, okay, I'll stay home or I'll go out and play in it. But we're going to get stir crazy. And I was wondering, my 2-year-old, we walked up to the top of our street where there's a main road, loved seeing the plows yesterday. That offered hours of entertainment, but they're not making it down to the side streets just yet. Do you have any maybe update on that of when that typically happens, or do we have to wait kind of for a break in the weather?
Sure, and I'm glad you mentioned the timeline. For us, it's always day 3 where people start getting a little unhappy. Day 1 is great; the snow is coming down. Day 2 is a little antsy, and then day 3, they just turn. But that's a great question. It will take us a couple days to get into neighborhoods, and I'm glad you brought this up. We have a plow tracker app that we've updated for this season. That now in the Northern Virginia district, you can see the breadcrumbs of where the trucks have been for the last 6 hours. So you can tell the progress that's being
amazing.
made. And yeah, you can often see that, oh, well, they've been into half of my subdivision, and now they're not doing the other half because we keep pulling the trucks to go back to the higher volumes of the secondaries and the primaries. We pulled some primaries onto the interstates. We had front-end loaders on the interstates. So really, we just need people to be patient. We have, in our district, we maintain almost 17,000 subdivision streets. That's a quantity. That isn't lane miles. That is a quantity. So we are very...
Yeah, where do we find the plow tracker again?
Plow tracker
again,
right
I know
now
a toddler who's going to love that. Yes.
Sure, it's the web address is plows.vdot.virginia.gov, and it's really great. You put in your address, and you see all of them pop up. The first thing I tell people to do is just turn off the traffic cameras layer because that will overwhelm you on the map.
Yeah,
but you really get to see, and you click on every little dot, and it'll give you a timestamp of exactly when the truck was at that one dot. Yeah, it's great. And then you can tell your child it's breadcrumbs are from Hansel and Gretel, so then you can read the Hansel and Gretel story. And, hey, this is what VDOT's doing.
This is fantastic. And that's always good because it involves cooking and eating children, my favorite. While we've got you, we know that Maryland employs Old Bay seasoning as part of what they put on the roads to help not only melt the ice and make sure that those roads are safe in Maryland, but also, I mean, let's face it, it tastes good on fish and chips and fries. What is it that you deploy there in Virginia in the Old Dominion? Is it like, tobacco juice from chewing tobacco or something? What's like the quintessential Virginia thing that you put on the roads like Old Bay in Maryland?
I mean, I guess I would just say we're boring, just straight up salts. I mean, it's I've seen all of the memes with the Old Bay, and unfortunately we do not have our own cultural component, counterpart to that. So we're just regular old salt. I mean, I would say depending upon where we are, maybe a little bit of liquid magnesium chloride, but that's really not for eating.
Oh, hey,
not
hold
flashy.
on. Yeah, I'm sorry. You just said you're boring, and then you drop liquid magnesium chloride on me. Like I said, Ellen is a party, and we love talking with her. Ellen Kamilakis, get back to your very important work, tweeting and making people laugh on X. Thank you, Ellen. Always good to talk with you.
O'Connor and Cassie.
That is VDOT, Northern Virginia. I could have made a political statement there about how, I don't know. I just didn't want to drag her into politics. Why would you do that? Everything isn't about politics, right?
No, now you're just making her be like, we're so boring here.
Yeah, well, I mean, and again...
Made her self-conscious.
Lord knows if Abigail Spanberger had not won the election, we'd have some nice Jamaican seasoning out there. Winsome Sears would be doing the jerk chicken.
Sure, of course.
Right?
It took me a minute.
That'd be fun, but no.
Sure.
Had to have the
Spice
White
it
Witch,
up.
the Snow Queen.
Just regular old salt.
Did I mention I didn't want to bring Ellen Kamilakis into a political conversation? So that's her boss now. She's got to stay politics free at VDOT. Just get the roads going.
Nice of you to let her go before you
Exactly.
made it about politics.
Thank you. And about me, by the way. 624. Coming up, if you're looking at all the activities of these anti-ICE agitators in Minneapolis and you think, wow, that looks really organized and planned out, you're right. And we're going to share with you exactly how organized and funded it is next.
WMAL-FM, Woodbridge, Washington, a Cumulus media station. Making sense of the news. News Talk 105.9. News now. Now on 105.9 FM and streaming worldwide on the WMAL app. O'Connor and Company.
Good Monday morning at 6:37, and it's really nasty out there. If you don't have to go anywhere, don't. Work from home, be at home, hang with your kids, play with your kids, shovel your walk. I'm tired of having to slip around there as I'm walking the dog. Coming up at 7:05, Joe DeGenova will be our guest. 7:15, Charlie Gishler, Maryland State Highway. 7:35, Kevin Roberts from Heritage talk about this organized war on ICE and what it really means. And 8:05, Erica Donalds on school choice. Larry O'Connor with Cassie Smedile. I see you, Cassie. Good morning, Cassie.
Good morning, Larry.
When you look at the operations up there, but how does the mob know where ICE is going? How do they track them? How do they get there so quickly? Sometimes, right as ICE agents are arriving to carry out their operations, and where they all get their tactics and their whistles and their coordinated plans, and they're all screaming the same thing. And then if they have signs, the signs all seem to be coordinated. It's like, how did this all happen? Where did it come from? Wow, just organic, protest. No, it's all incredibly organized. This is an operation, Cassie Smedile, and it is funded. And they certainly should go after the funding sources and figure out where the money is coming from. They should also go after the people who are organizing this and getting people, again, love protests. Protests are great. If I may use the I'm old enough to remember thing, I am, in fact, old enough to remember the birth of the Tea Party movement in 2009 when we were all accused of this coordinated, and I mean, I guess it was organized in that we, would utilize the Meetup web. Remember Meetup? The Meetup website. Right. And schedule a protest, and we would actually, pull a permit from whatever local city we were in to go to the public square, not block traffic, not lay down in front of cars, not disrupt law enforcement, and yes, we'd coordinate and we'd say, okay, well, this is who will speak, and we'll raise some money and we'll hire a sound system. It's like that was the Klan. That was the beginning of the Third Reich. That was, but this This is unbelievably planned and organized and ridiculously political and completely tied hand in glove, it appears, with the Democrat Party and certainly the Democrats who are running Minnesota. And if you don't believe that there's a political end to all this, if you don't think that the whole reason for all of this is to just undermine the administration, to hurt Donald Trump and Republicans in the polls during an election year, well, you're not really paying attention. Take a listen to Tim Walz.
If you voted for this administration, heck, even if you thought Operation Metro Surge was a good idea, sounded like the thing to do a month ago, you're still allowed to look at what's happening here in Minnesota and say, this isn't what I voted for and this isn't what I want. I ask you not to stand by idly. Speak out, share what you're seeing, and urge others to put politics aside. We're no longer having a political debate. We're having a moral debate. We all want secure borders and immigration enforcement that prioritizes criminals. And I want to thank the press, especially the local press.
Yeah, I bet he wants to thank the press. But there you go. The entire message. Well, you Republicans, you swing state voters, you know, the people who kept me from being vice president. It's okay to say this isn't what you voted for, again, to try to undermine support for the president and his administration. And then, of course, because he's Tim Walz, he had to go one step further.
Many of us grew up reading that story of Anne Frank. Somebody's going to write that children's story about Minnesota.
There you go. Weird. It's just like the Nazis. Just
the same.
Like the Nazis. A little bit more here on exactly how organized this is and who's organizing and what we learned. But just to pause there, this is obviously a political operation, Cassie. This is a right now. And again, I know people from the Trump administration listen, and I know that there's people who are this. You may not like the fact that this is a PR thing and a messaging thing and a political thing, but I'm sorry, whether you like it or not, that's exactly what this is, and you need to treat it that way. The right. Political messaging part of this needs to be handled with as much focus and as much energy and as much exuberance as the law enforcement and DHS aspect of it.
Mm-hmm. No, I totally agree. And I will say on Tim Walz's comments, it's funny because if you just tuned in and heard that out of context, you'd go, is he talking about the Somali daycare scandal? Because that's not what I voted for. I didn't vote for billions of my tax dollars going. But no, he, of course, he's on script. These are scripts. These are deeply coordinated. We were talking about the Signal chat, which I know we'll probably talk about. But none of this is organic. And it's actually preying upon average citizens who would say, you know, I'm busy taking my kids to real daycares and figuring out homework and getting to and from school. And oh, by the way, I'm seeing this thing on my social media feed that's kind of bothering me. That's the point.
Yep.
That's what they want you to see every time you open up your social media. And when you talk about the PR piece of this, they are so unbelievably good and coordinated at this. It's what they do for a living. They're not balancing it all. They're right. Only doing this.
Oh, that's right. And by the way, when you can't roll your eyes and just say, "Oh, well, this is just politics." No. Of course, it's politics. We're in the business of politics. Right. Things only happen in this country if you're winning at politics. This is about power and using politics to get that power. And the reason why they're doing what they're doing, and the reason why they're saying what they're saying, is because it works. That's why. This is called direct action. It goes all the way back to Saul Alinsky. I've been saying it over, and I'll keep repeating it. Look at Rules for Radicals. This is what being a community organizer is all about. It's direct action, and you're being community organized right now. You're in the middle of a direct action campaign, and it is coordinated. It is very thought through. It is well-funded, and we'll get to that in a moment because they have a group chat on Signal, which, by the way, I was told we're not supposed to use Signal. It's a multiple group chat with hundreds of people participating in it, some high-level officials participating in it, and it shows just how coordinated this is. It was broke by an independent journalist named Cam Higbee, highlighted by Matt Vespa over at townhall.com, and we're going to give you the details of it next. 6:43.
Listen to O'Connor and Company this Tuesday morning at 8:06 for America 250, a constitutional-focused conversation with Hillsdale College's Washington, D.C. campus. That's this Tuesday, 8:06 a.m. with O'Connor and Company on WMAL.
Later this morning on the Chris Plant Show, anybody notice the weather this weekend? I'm kind of looking forward to a little global warming. 9 a.m. on WMAL.
As I mentioned, Tim Walz has been using this politically to try to undermine the president's administration, his popularity, Republicans in the midterms. That's the governor of Minnesota, of course, who wanted to be vice president of the United States. He, of course, has ordered that no law enforcement can help with crowd control or keep safe conditions while ICE is conducting their duties. In fact, he's encouraged people to get in the way and impede and prevent ICE from doing their duties. He's basically encouraging people to put their lives on the line, his own citizens, to use their bodies to get in the way of these ICE officials who are doing their job. And now we have tragically two. And by the way, for everybody who's like, oh, why are you taking ICE's side on this? And I try to be on the side of fact here. And the problem is whenever I hear the screaming headlines and from the media about stories like this, I have learned to not believe anything they tell me. It was only about a minute and a half ago where they were telling me that ICE had abducted a 5-year-old child and used him as bait to try to get some innocent American citizen or perhaps illegal immigrant who's been in the country 20 years and never broke the law and is actually probably about to cure cancer or something. And of course, we learned the truth about that story. But now, okay, well, never mind. We lied about that, but now we're going to tell the truth. No, I'll assume they're lying to me until I hear otherwise. Right. He did deploy the National Guard, though. I have to say, the Governor Tim Walz did deploy the Minnesota National Guard to assist. You would think that would be to assist ICE and to assist with crowd control. And no, there's a video of this. It's unbelievable. How demeaning. Minnesota National Guard were deployed to give coffee and donuts to the protesters. and they were all wearing these like lime green safety vests like they wear in France, which imagine being in the military, being in the Army. Now you're in the Minnesota National Guard, and you have to put one of those stupid, I fill potholes, little, yellow highlighter vests on over my beautiful U.S. Army uniform, and then stand there and hand out coffee. Dude, my friend Lee Wolf, who's a Marine and is the producer of the Ruthless podcast. Oh, yeah. He actually tweeted the video out and said, I would rather face the court-martial for here. He finally found an order that Mike Kelly, that he can agree with Mike Kelly on, that you should disobey. He said, I would rather face the court-martial for disobeying an order than actually demean my military career by standing there handing out coffee to these dirtbags. I'm paraphrasing what Lee Wolf said. He, of course, was much more polite about it.
Lee's so great, by the way, and is like a Captain America type veteran.
He truly is, yes.
So he's all in. He's such a great American. But I think that's how most of them feel. I can understand. And actually, I could say anywhere but in this instance, I can understand, hey, we need to take the temperature down. We need to reset relationships. But then when you we've been talking about it all morning. Tim Walz with a bullhorn over the fence, by the way. He's not out there with the people.
Right.
He's like, no, I'm going to stay behind my own wall.
Through the fence in his mansion.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, no walls except the one that protects me. But that he's doing nothing to take down the temperature, to incentivize people to just calmly protest, keep it at bay, don't get in the way of law enforcement. In fact, he's doing the exact opposite. He's ginning them up. Yeah. He's comparing this to Anne Frank. I mean, it's wild. And then the National Guard have to go out there and be his puppets, which I'm sure that's not what they signed up for when they took their oath.
Yeah, Cam Higbee is an independent journalist, former military himself. He's been on the ground trying to infiltrate the agitators here. He got into the private signal chat of all of these people and the documents that they share. And, I mean, this is like punch in, punch out. I'm on duty. I've got this sector. You covered that sector. They follow cars. They've got a license plate database of cars that they're tracking. It is beyond organized. It is very hard to unpack all of it on the radio. I implore you. There's a great write-up at townhall.com. Full disclosure, I'm the editor of townhall.com, but Matt Vespa wrote it up over the weekend. It's been all over the place. Or you can just go to Cam Higbee's X feed and see it yourself. It is beyond organized. and it must be funded. There's no way this sort of thing happens organically. Here's Alexis McAdams of Fox News.
What sticks out to me from covering these protests here for the past several days in Minneapolis is just how organized these protesters are. We talked about the ICE Watch Group. These people have spotters, Sean, all over the city. So they see who pulls in and out of the federal building, whether they're ICE agents or not. They want to track you down. They want to put you in a database, and then it's shared, according to DHS sources, through Signal chat. So that's what sticks out to me about this. They're angry, they're motivated, and they have a message for these ICE agents that they don't want them in the city of Minneapolis. And I think it's important to point out, too, as you have, when you're talking about who these neighbors are. I asked those protesters, you're here to protect your neighbors. We hear it from the governor. We hear it from the mayor of Minneapolis. Who are the neighbors? I asked a few of the protesters. Are you here to protect the guy who DHS says was in the country illegally, that is wanted for sodomy, for murder? And they say, no, that is not true. They're taking, American citizens into custody. So no matter what you say, no matter what the facts are from DHS or from whatever side, they don't want to hear it. So that's what we've been dealing with on the ground. Things. Yep.
There you go. And by It's important to note in terms of the organization here and what Alexis McAdams just said there with tracking these people, doxing these people, keeping their database of license plate numbers, trying to, out them on social media and everything. You wonder why they're wearing masks. Mm-hmm. Remember that whole thing? There's no reason why they should wear a We shouldn't let them. Look at the opposition they're facing. This is why they're covering their identity. It's outrageous. More on this. Joe DeGeneva joining us in a moment.